Hello, and welcome to Chagpar MD. I'm Dr. Anise Chagpar, and as you know, this channel is all about evidence-based health and wellness, where we give you the evidence, the randomized controlled trials, the meta-analyses that really inform you in terms of your most popularly asked questions regarding health and fitness. Many of you have asked about water. What are really the health benefits? What does the science say? How much do you need to drink? How can you gauge your hydration? And is there anything to whether you should be drinking tap water versus bottled water, alkaline water, mineral water, spring water? Well, we're going to dig into all of those questions right now. So what do you say? Let's get started. Now, I had done a video on the health benefits and the data around coffee as well as green tea. But truthfully, water is the most popularly consumed beverage on the face of the planet. So what are the data in terms of water? Is it as healthy as people say? And in what regard? What does the science say? And how much do you really need? Is it 8 glasses a day? More? Less? How can you tell? And what type of water is best to drink? Bottled water? Tap water? Is there anything to alkaline water? Well, we're going to tackle all of that data right now. So we know that the human body is about 60% water. And there is some normal fluctuation in terms of the water content of the body. About 2% of your body weight can fluctuate with that based on water. However, if you lose more than 2% of your body weight in terms of water, that's considered hypohydration. So many of the studies that have looked at water consumption have really tagged this benchmark of 2% body weight in terms of hypohydration. So what have they found? How important is water in terms of your overall health? Well, the data are clear that it does improve physical performance, particularly in athletes. And I will leave you, as always, the links to all of the studies in the description box below. It's clear that pre-exercise hydration impairs aerobic exercise performance by about 2.4%. So it's important, especially for athletes or anybody engaging in exercise, that you really do make sure that you're hydrating, because as you know, when you sweat, you are losing some of that water, and that will affect your physical performance. Where else are the data pretty clear? Kidney stones. And this makes sense too. As you keep hydrated, you're passing more water through your kidneys so that there's less opportunity for minerals like calcium to deposit and create kidney stones. But aside from the intuitive sense that that makes, randomized controlled trials have demonstrated that high fluid intake reduces your risk of kidney stones with a relative risk of 0.4 across randomized controlled trials. So a significant risk reduction for kidney stone formations if you keep well hydrated. Well, what about other things? Does it help your cognition, help you to think better? Does it reduce headaches? Does it reduce constipation? Well, the data here, interestingly, when you actually look at the science, are mixed. And I've left you some links to systematic reviews that look at all of these topics in the description box below. As it turns out, there are a number of studies that do find that keeping well hydrated does improve cognition, both for children, adolescents, and adults, that it may improve headaches, and it certainly can reduce constipation. But not all the studies are conclusive in that regard. Some studies have found that hydration made no difference, and so mixed results. Fortunately, however, there haven't been any studies that demonstrate the opposite. That is to say that drinking water reduces cognition, makes headaches worse, or causes constipation. So at least that's one good thing. Now, what about weight loss? It should come as no surprise to anyone that replacing high-calorie beverages with non-caloric beverages results in fewer calories consumed. This is what I would call a well, duh, but it really is borne out in a variety of studies, and I will leave you those links for those who are interested in the description box below. What is interesting, however, is that the studies that have compared the replacement of other zero-calorie beverages, so diet soda, for example, with water, found that there was not any difference in terms of energy intake when one compared the two groups. So the concept that if you're drinking, for example, a zero-calorie beverage, that you will end up consuming more calories than if you drank water instead, does not seem to be borne out in the literature that has looked at this as a direct comparison. Now, there certainly may be other reasons not to consume artificial sweeteners and so on, but that's for another video. Now, there have been some studies that have actually looked at water consumption and weight loss. So, for example, there was one randomized control trial where they took 84 obese adults and randomized them to two conditions. The first was randomized to drink 500 milliliters of water 30 minutes before meals. So 2 glasses of water before you ate anything. The control condition was randomized to think that their stomach was full 30 minutes before they had a meal. And it turned out that drinking that water before they ate resulted in the intervention group losing on average 1.3 kilograms more than the control group did at 12 weeks. And this intuitively also makes sense, that idea that water can contribute to satiety, particularly if you had right before your meals, because it can enlarge the stomach, make you feel a little bit fuller. Now, when put in the context of systematic reviews, there are data suggesting that drinking at least 1 liter of water a day may result in greater weight loss in a particular subgroup of patients, and that is people who are overweight or obese, who are on a hypocaloric or low glycemic diet paired with usual exercise. So the idea here is, yes, water can help you to lose weight, but you also need to be watching what you eat and exercising. So there's no silver bullet getting around the whole caloric deficit, as we've talked about in other videos as well. So then the question is, well, how much water do I need for maximal health benefits? And here it really depends on what the goals are and on a number of other factors as well. So in the studies that I just showed you, we were looking at more than 1 liter a day, which is about 4 glasses of water a day. But a lot of people seem to feel that 8 glasses a day is what people should be shooting for. And for the majority of people, that seems to make sense. But remember that we're not a one-size-fits-all kind of community, right? You have bigger people and smaller people. So 8 glasses a day may be more or less in terms of your total fluid volume. And therefore, it may not be the same. So some people say, well, use thirst as a proxy for how hydrated you are. Certainly, if you're thirsty, it is your body's way of saying, hey, I'm getting dehydrated, I need fluid. But when actual scientific studies have looked at thirst as a non-invasive guide or gauge of hypohydration, what they've found is that thirst is really a good gauge first thing in the morning, but after you have some water, well, then your thirst goes away even though you may still be hypohydrated. So where do most of the evidence now lie in terms of gauging your own hydration? It's really in terms of urine color. And many people use this eight factor kind of scale. So if your urine is matching the color in the block of 1, 2, or 3, that kind of very clear to very pale yellow, that's usually a good sign that you're hydrated and you're drinking enough fluid. Once you start getting into the darker yellow and, God forbid, into that tan, you're really dehydrated and you need to drink more. Even if that's more than 8 glasses a day, and even if you may not feel completely thirsty. So then the next question is, okay, what should I be drinking? Should I drink tap water, or is bottled water better? And in terms of bottled water, is it purified water or spring water, artesian water? What about alkaline water? Well, here too, there are a number of things to keep in mind. So a few considerations. First of all, cost. Certainly tap water is cheap. Free is very affordable. However, your tap water, depending on where you live, may or may not be safe. Certainly, if you are getting your water from a well, you need to really think about how it is going to be filtered, purified, or distilled before you drink it. You may need to boil your water if you're getting it from a well. But tap water also has an advantage of being environmentally friendly, whereas bottled water does add plastic to our footprint. And we are consuming, whether we like it or not, microplastics if the water that you consume comes in a plastic bottle. The other advantage of tap water is that it often contains fluoride, which is important for our dental health. However, in most bottled waters that take that out with their purification systems, you may lose out on the fluoride. Having said that, if you have other health conditions, for example, and you really want to be careful about what you're drinking, you may choose to drink bottled water. Or if you're traveling overseas and you're not sure about the water source, bottled water is a great option. The other thing to think about is cryptosporidium. So whereas tap water may contain cryptosporidium, it also may be there in some bottled water. Some bottled waters have been purified in such a way that it really filters this out. And so if you have certain chronic conditions or are particularly immunocompromised, drinking bottled water might be in your best interest, but it's important to read the label. So how was that water purified? Was it distilled? Was it purified with reverse osmosis? There is a great guide for you that was put out by the Environmental Protection Agency, as well as some guidelines on the CDC website, and I'm linking both of those in the description box below. It really is a buyer beware kind of phenomenon when it comes to bottled water. The other thing is taste. Some people like the taste of bottled water better than they do tap water, although scientifically, in studies, people really haven't been able to tell the difference. So in terms of bottled water, there's purified water like Dasani and Aquafina. These vary based on how the water was purified. You'll be able to find that on the label, and it's important to do that and to compare to what is on the EPA and CDC websites. Spring water, things like Evian, really talk about where the water is coming from, although there is some controversy about whether these are coming from natural springs or not, and whether that makes any difference in terms of health benefit. Certainly, there doesn't seem to be any evidence in that regard. Artesian waters like Fiji, for example, really is protected from groundwater. Again, the absolute benefit of that in terms of your health is not clear at all. Now, there has been a lot of talk about alkaline waters, which increase the pH to more than 7. And some have purported that these alkaline waters, for example, can reduce your risk of everything, including cancer. Well, as it turns out in scientific studies, that's simply not true. And I'll leave you the link for those studies in the description box below as well. So in summary, water does seem to be a really great and healthy alternative to high-calorie beverages. It can certainly help you to keep in that ideal body weight zone. It does help to prevent kidney stones, and it does improve your athletic performance in terms of avoiding pre-workout hypohydration. As for the other benefits of reducing constipation, headaches, and improving cognition, the data are really mixed, but it doesn't seem to have an adverse effect. You want to make sure that you're looking at how hydrated you are by really looking at your urine color. And in terms of the type of water to drink, well, I leave that up to you. But right now, it seems that so long as you have a good quality of tap water, that is a fine solution. Bottled water is equally good. Just read the label and know the differences between them. Remember, this channel is all about providing you the evidence, the knowledge that you need to be really intelligent consumers of information that affects your health and wellness. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and share it. Please leave me a comment in the description box below. Let me know what you thought, what other topics you want covered. And be sure to subscribe. We're trying to create a community geared around evidence-based health and wellness, and I am so glad that you are here. So until next time, this is Dr. Anise Chagpar wishing you all a safe and healthy week.